Hello everyone, my name is Bagus Mahaaditya. Today I will presenting about metallurgy, especially in steel product and properties. For the reference, I use book Metallurgy for the non-metallurgy second edition, edited by Arthur C. Reardon. And for the content, there is five content that I will explain about. The first one is classification of steel. The second is carbon steel. The third is alloy steel. The fourth is alloying element in steel. The fifth is strength and toughness. Okay, the first one is classification of steel. Classification of steel. Steel form one of the most complex group of alloy in common use. And there are so many ways to classify steel. The classification of steel based on chemical composition, what is widely used method, and there is three very broad-based categories of steel based on composition. The first one is plain carbon steel. The second is low alloy steel. The third is high alloy steel. However, it is important to point out that steel are classified in many other ways. For example, classification may be based on steelmaking. Steelmaking is can be classified into two steps. The first one is primary steelmaking in a converter or furnace, and the secondary steelmaking is in a lathe. The second is the deoxidation practice. The oxygen is generally considered an undesirable element in steel because it combines with other elements like silicon, aluminum, and titanium to form oxide inclusion that can degrade toughness and fatigue resistance. The next method is solidification method. After the steel melt and refined, it is then solidified into useful form by ferrous casting method. And product form, various steel product form, kiln mill kiln mill product are produced in the steel mill either by continuous casting method or the breakdown of ingot into various rock form by rolling, drawing, extraction operation. The various type of wheels of mill steel product is include like sheet and coil, wire, structural shapes, bar for forging, and machine part. And next is the finishing method. The surface of steel product is influenced by finishing method in royal mill production. Finishing is by either hot rolling or cold rolling. Okay, there are so many classified that uh, classification of steel. Maybe I can just explanation that. Otherwise, you can search for another classification for the explanation. I will just uh I will just I will just mention the name like microstructure, requires strength level, and heat treatment quality description like that. For the picture beside is about classification of steel too. You can pause the video if you want. Okay, we go to the next slide. The next slide is carbon steel. All steel are all steel are iron carbon alloy with carbon content from 0.02% to less than 2%. The so-called plain carbon steel contains small amount of manganese and silicon. Almost all steel also contain the fractional amount of impurities, phosphorus and sulfur, for example, which are in raw steel making material such as scrap, and carbon steel can be classified into further on the basis of carbon content, like steel containing less than 0.30%. It's called low carbon steel or mild steel. The second is steel with containing between the 0.20 and 0.60. It's called carbon. It's called medium carbon steel. And the third is steel containing more than 0.60 C. It's called high carbon steel. And the fourth is free machining grade. We go to the next slide. Alloy steel. Alloy steel contain manganese, silicon, or copper in quantities greater than those for carbon steel, or they have specimen rates or minimum for one or more for the other alloying elements such as nickel, chromium, molybdenum, and so forth. High-strength low alloy or HSLA steel are designed to provide better mechanical properties and greater resistance to atmospheric corrosion than conventional carbon steel. The type of high-strength low alloy steel commonly used include like the weathering steel that designed for exhibit superior atmospheric corrosion resistance, and control rolled steel, hot rolled according to the predetermined rolling schedule to achieve development highly deformance outstanding structure that transforms into a fine equal equishet ferrite structure on cooling. Uh, the third is perlite reluction steel, the strengthened by very fine grained ferrite and precision hardening, but with low carbon content and therefore little or no perlite in the microstructure. Next is micro-alloy steel, with the small addition generally uh, lower than 0.10% for the each offset element, as the niobium, vanadium, titanium, and for the refinement of grain size or perception hardening. Okay, next is acicular ferrite steel, very low carbon steel with sufficient hardenability to transform on cooling to a very fine high strength acicular ferrite or low carbon benite structure, structure rather than the usual polygon ferrite structure. And next is the dual phase steel process of the microstructure of the ferrite containing small uniformly distributes into the region of high carbon martensit, resulting in the product with low yield strength and a high rate of the work hardening, thus providing a high strength steel of superiority formability. And explanation about low alloy steel and high alloy steel. Low alloy steel is constituted into a category of ferrous metal that exhibit mechanical properties superior to the plain carbon steel, resulting from the addition of such alloying elements as nickel, chromium, and molybdenum. Then the high alloy steel is the steel with alloying greater than 6%, with 9% are typically classified as a high alloy steel. Stainless steel are the major type of high alloy steel, but two other types are ultra-high strength nickel cobalt steel and the American steel. Okay, we go to the next slide. Alloying element in steel. Steel form one of the most complex group of alloy in common use. The synergistic effect of alloying element and heat treatment produce a tremendous variety of microstructure and properties. It will be impossible to include a detailed of survey of alloying effect, and so I only key the alloying element are discussed here. Like carbon is the most single important alloying in element steel, and next the magnus manganese is the normal present in commercial steel, and next is the silicon is the one of principal deoxidizer used in steel making. And next is copper. Inappreciability of ammonia can be detrimental to hot working operation and has a modern tendency to segregate. And the next is chromium is generally added to a steel to increase the resistance to the corrosion and oxidation, to increase the hardenability, to improve the high temperature strength or the improving the abrasion resistance in high alloy in in high carbon composition. Sorry. The next is nickel. When used as an alloying element in constructional steel, it's a ferrite strengthener. And I will mention the other uh, element like molybdenum, vanadium, niobium, aluminium, titanium, boron, tungsten, zirconium, calcium, cerium, lead, bismuth, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, hydrogen, tin, and arsenic, antimony. You can search for the description or the explanation. I will next into the next slide. The next slide is strength and toughness. The word steel has become synonymous with strength, and the description of strong as steel is common in everyday language. Steel is usually associated with strength because many of it use it necessary that steel in one form for another, like superalloy. High-strength carbon and low-alloy steel have field strength greater than uh, 275 MPa or or 40 kSe. It can be more or less divided into the four classification. The first one is astral carbon magnesium steel. The second is astral high strength alloy or HSLA steel, that which are also known as the micro alloyed steel. The third is heat rate or the normalized or the quench and temperate carbon steel. And the last but not least is the heat rate alloy steel. low alloy steel. Okay, I will explain about toughness. Toughness is generally considered into the tough material that is they can absorb the energy of an impact without a breaking. And fatigue strength when a steel component is a steel component is subject into the repeat or cyclic stress, including the vibration stress. The part can be felt by fatigue even though the box test stress level is acting on the part may be below the yield strength of the steel. The most effective and economical method of improving fatigue strength involved is designing the part to eliminate the stress rise. The next is avoiding the avoiding the sharp surface tears or indentation that may result from punching, stamping, shearing, and even hardness testing. The next is preventing the development surface discontinuities or decarburation loss during the processing or the heat treatment. The next is improving the surface that finish and controlling the detail of fabrication as and fastening. Sorry, Produce procedure to minimize stress concentration, control of the protection against corrosion, surface inducing and other goods is an important part of the maintenance to assure that the fatigue strength is maintained into the active surface. The okay about the elevate temperature strength. Elevate the temperature strength carbon steel. You can see the picture beside. It's about the temperature. You can pause the video if you want. And carbon steel and alloy steel with ferrite perlite or the ferrite binated microstructure are used extensively at the elevated temperature in the fossil fuel fire with the power generating plants like the aircraft, aircraft power plant, chemical processing plant, and the petroleum processing plant. Okay, next we go to about the corrosion. Okay, the picture beside is about corrosion. Here is the average loss in thickness, and here is average loss in thickness mills. It's about the atmospheric corrosion versus time of carbon. So this is the time, and this is the atmospheric corrosion. The word of corrode is derived from the Latin corrode, which means to gnaw to piece. Corrosion takes on many forms that can be defined in many ways for the purpose present here. The metallurgy definition of corrosion is an electrochemical process will be a metal atom exchange electron with atom in the environment. For the picture beside, you can pause the video if you want to screenshot it. Can screenshot it. It's okay. Okay, we go to the next slide. Okay, this is the end of the slide for today's presentation. I hope you like my video and thank you for watching my video and bye bye.